Everyone. Thank you for joining me for Ask a Therapist. Here, I will answer your questions about mental health, relationships, and parenting. I'm Michelle. I have 15 years of experience as a mental health therapist. I'm a writer, a peacemaker, and an advocate for those without a voice. Feel free to ask a question, post it in the comments. I did prepare a topic to talk about this week as well, but I would love to be able to answer your questions since this is Ask a Therapist. To get started, since this week is the week of Valentine's Day, February is all about love and self love. I wanted to pull a card, so I grabbed my deck, Affirmations for Manifesting Your Heart's Desire by Julie Dane. And I asked the question, how can we express our love this week? And what I received is I will hold love, joy, and forgiveness in my heart. I thought that was pretty fitting. I've been talking more and more lately about the need for forgiveness in a healthy relationship. Sometimes in my work as a therapist, I find that people tend to hold on to grudges with their partners. And so we may end up revisiting things that happened a decade ago during our work together because things were held on to that long. They weren't worked through and resolved and then forgiven. So, a big part of having a healthy relationship, whatever that looks like for you, involves forgiveness. I haven't met a perfect person yet, nor do I think I ever will. Maybe I will. I would love to, but I don't think that's part of the human condition. I think we are meant to make mistakes and learn lessons along our journey on this planet. So since we're not perfect human beings, forgiveness is really important so we can maintain the type of love that we need to truly be able to open our hearts to another person. The other pieces of holding love and joy in your heart, love can mean a lot of things for different people. I like to term it as like unconditional love, where it's a true acceptance of another human being. It doesn't come with conditions, expectations. That said, we can have boundaries. But there's not necessarily expectations or conditions on the relationship or on the other person. There's space for them to be their authentic self and be able to grow in their authentic self, just as we as an individual need to have that room and space to grow as well. So that's how I see love and how I talk about it. And then joy is a huge part of love. Spending that time together, bringing one another joy, doing those fun things, sharing each other's hobbies and interests, or pushing each other out of your comfort zones to try something new that may bring joy. And joy comes in the small moments too. It may come in the moments where you're watching your child play a football game or a volleyball game. That joy may arise in the day to day chores, spending time cooking a meal together. So, since the question I asked was, how can we express our love this week? So, bring some unconditional love. If you're not in a relationship, unconditionally love yourself or provide some unconditional love for a different loved one of your friends or a family member, just someone who you can show up and bring that love to. Do something that sparks joy, whether it's something that sparks joy within yourself or sparks joy for one of your loved ones. And then offer someone that you care about a piece of forgiveness. And if you are focusing on self love, forgive yourself for a transgression that maybe you did, a way that you hurt someone else, or a mistake that you made. I also talk a lot about self forgiveness because that's really important. We need to show ourselves the self love and compassion that we give to others as well. So that's your plan or guidance for this week. And then, as far as the topic that I prepared for us, I guess before I'll see and give some space, does anybody have any questions? I'll give you a minute or two to put any questions into the live chat, and I will definitely answer those to the best of my ability before jumping into the topic that I had planned for today. Just give you a little bit more time. As we're talking about love and Valentine's Day this week, while I'm giving people space to post questions, I'm looking at all the hearts I have on my desk. I have several crystals on my desk. I do a lot of telehealth, and it helps me focus and concentrate if I have kind of some things to fidget with. So I have a surprising amount of hearts on my desk as I'm looking at it. I actually have two carnelian hearts. So I have that one that's a little bit more intricate. And then this one's a little bit more solid. It's got a glare on it. And then I have a sunstone heart. I believe this is sodalite. I've got that little heart. And when I'm looking up, I have a grid hanging out up there, and I've got a little Amazonite heart. I think that's what it is. All right. Well, since I finished filling space or holding space with hearts, and I don't see any questions in the comments, I'll go ahead and jump in to what I had planned for today. So it does go along with the message for today about love. So I wanted to talk about the five love languages. This is something that comes up quite frequently for me as well when I'm in the course of doing therapy with couples. There is some criticism about the five love languages because they're not necessarily evidence based, but it is interesting and it can improve couples' connections when they are aware of their own and their partner's love languages. There is a quiz too where you can identify the love language for a child or children. So that's interesting as well because we want to make sure that our children feel loved also. All right, so I'll go ahead and run through the five love languages. This was first published by Gary Chapman in 1992, and it was based on his observations of couples during therapy. So he was able to identify those themes of how couples tended to express their love to one another. So the first one that we'll talk about out of the five is called words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is about using praise, appreciation, giving encouragement, maybe sending an uplifting quote, writing a love note to one another, or even sending some sort of cute text message to your partner. So it's a lot about complimenting the other person and giving them positive reinforcement by sharing what they do well. So that's one way that we share and express love to each other. Words of affirmation is something I introduce in almost every couples therapy kind of process that I do. Maybe not everyone. I don't want to be absolute, but I frequently incorporate some sort of words of affirmation, especially appreciation. It's pretty simple, but every day you can send a quick message or share with one another, maybe before you go to bed or first thing in the morning, 3 things that you appreciate about the other person every day. So, what was something maybe they did, or just anything that you appreciated? So, really focusing on the positive messages and positive words rather than harsh, hurtful, criticizing words. So, we want to end any cycles of negativity that may be present by using more positive affirmations. And then the second love language is quality time. That's when you get to spend time together. When that's your primary love language, you tend to feel the most loved when you're spending undivided time together. You have their undivided attention. So electronics are put away, the phones are set down, maybe the kids are at the babysitter, and you're just able to spend that time together connecting in a way that's meaningful and interactive to you. So that can incorporate techniques like active listening sort of techniques, like making eye contact with one another again, setting aside distractions. So turn off the computer, put down the phone, turn off the television, make that eye contact with one another, thoughtfully interact. There's a lot of active listening sort of techniques as far as tone, body language, turning towards the person, having a soft and gentle voice tone, acting interested, maybe leaning forward a little bit, and then reflecting back what you hear the other person saying, which reflecting back is kind of putting it in your own words, what you heard your partner say. So that's what quality time looks like. And then the third love language is physical touch. That is touching another individual, touching your partner, touching your kids. It can be things like holding hands, a touch on someone's arm, maybe give a back rub at the end of the day. So those sorts of things that you can do for physical affection. And it could be things, yeah, as far as dates go, things like cuddling on the couch while you're watching a movie, slow dancing together, maybe taking a long walk together while holding hands. But people who have physical touch as their primary love language really do well when they're engaging physically in some way with their partner. And again, it could be something as simple as holding hands to obviously more intimate forms of connection and touch. And then the fourth love language is acts of service. Those are things where you do something nice for your partner that makes them feel loved and appreciated. These are more day to day tasks. So it might be things like helping out with the dishes, running errands, vacuuming, putting gas in the car, fixing the house, making some sort of repair. Those are all things that you can do for acts of service, mowing the lawn, just basically any way that you can help out. And that's especially important when you have a partner whose primary love language that is when they're feeling overwhelmed. So they're overwhelmed, they have a lot on their plate. Maybe they've got a busy week at work. They have a lot of deadlines. We're starting to get into tax season. So I'm seeing a lot of the accountants, who get stressed out this time of year. So if your partner tends to be or is an accountant, they might need you to maybe help out a little bit more at home, especially if their love language is acts of service. That'll really help them to feel loved and appreciated. And they notice and appreciate those little things that you do for them. People who maybe that's not their primary love language, they might not notice some of that stuff. But people whose primary love language is acts of service are looking for those things. And they tend to perform those acts of service and kindness for others too. So they will be likely to return the favor. If you do the dishes for them one night, they're likely to do them for you another night, so that way they can reciprocate that love. And then our last love language that I'll talk about today is receiving gifts. So, people who have gift giving as their primary love language, gifts symbolize love, care, and affection for them. It may not be the exact item that's meaningful for them, but it's the time, thought, and effort that's put into giving the gift. Or, what's maybe even better than giving a gift is making a gift that was meaningful and came from your heart. So they treasure that. They not just treasure the item, they treasure the time and effort that was put into selecting or making the gift. So they don't necessarily expect large or expensive gifts. So you don't have to worry about, oh, how do people describe it? High maintenance. That's kind of the pop phrase for that. So it's not necessarily if someone's primary gift, like love language is gift giving, that doesn't automatically mean that they're high maintenance. It could be the little things. I can think of a lot of parents, mothers, who really appreciate when their child picked them a little dandelion out of the yard and brought it inside and gave it to them. So it could be something as little as, hey, I thought about you and picked a flower and brought it inside to give to the person. That can be just as meaningful, if not more so, to an individual whose primary love language is gift giving than really extravagant sort of gifts. It's really about the effort and thoughtfulness behind the gift that matters the most. So just that, hey, I was thinking about you and brought you home your favorite ice cream or your favorite box of chocolates. That can be really meaningful. So, when you take that time to pick out a gift, especially for them, it lets them know, it communicates to them that you're thoughtful. You really see them and understand them, and you care about them and what's meaningful to them. So they tend to remember every little gift they've received from their loved one because it does make such a positive impact on themselves and their life. So, how do you discover your love language? There are some questions you can ask yourself. There's also a free quiz online. So, some questions that you can ask yourself first is, um, if someone tells you, I love you, like, do you feel most loved then? Or do you feel more loved when someone surprises you with a meaningful gift? When they plan a trip for just the two of you? Do you feel more loved when your partner runs errands or does laundry? Or do you feel more loved when your partner holds your hand while you're walking? So, those are some simple questions that you can ask yourself. And whatever comes, like, resonates the most for you, that's your number one love language at the time. there, like I said, is also a quiz that you can take, and that's on the Five Love Languages website. Again, that's by Gary Chapman and his company, Five Love Languages. So when you go to fivelovelanguages.com, that's where the quizzes are. It's the number five, it's not spelled out. So it's the number five, lovelanguages.com. You can click on quizzes. There are a few different quizzes that you can take. There's four. What's your love language? What's your apology language? How well do you handle anger? And do you feel appreciated at work? Because love languages have also been adapted to the workspace, work environment. What we're focusing on today is what's your love language? So again, that's free. When you click on that one, just click start and you'll run through a lot of different questions. They do ask for your name and email at the end of taking the quiz, but then you get your percentage for all five of the love languages for free. So it is a free assessment. And those other ones that I mentioned are free as well. So if you're interested, check out fivelovelanguages.com. I think it's interesting stuff. I will share one of the things I wanted to say is to a certain extent, I think our love languages can change over time. I decided to retake the test today. I've taken it a few times over the years. And so I thought beforehand I would retake it again today. My primary love language has remained consistent over time. So my primary love language is quality time, spending that time together. But my others have kind of changed over time. My least one is still the least one. Today when I took it, it was still 0%. I think at times maybe it's been a little bit higher than that, but I think it's been 0 at other points in time. But the other three have shifted and changed over time just with, I don't know, experiences, life experience, shifting priorities, kind of seeing people, seeing relationships in different ways, even seeing myself in a different way. So some of those priorities have shifted over time. So if you've taken it before, I will share it may not hurt to take the assessment again because some of your love languages may have shifted. So once you know your love language, then it can be okay, what do we do with this? So we want to receive love in the message or in the modality of our love language. So we want our partner to give us love in our love language. And then when we're giving love to our partner, we want to express and give that in their primary love language. So a partner for me will express and communicate love by spending time with me. If their primary love language is words of affirmation, then I'm going to meet their love language through words that I say. I'm going to give them a lot of praise, a lot of encouragement, send them some uplifting messages, maybe every day, like a cute little meme or something that just kind of encourages them to make it through the day, or it can bring a smile to their face throughout the day. So that's how we use this information in the best way possible. We don't want to express love or give love in our own love language. That would be a natural thing to do, but we don't want to do that. Again, we want to give love in our partner's love language, and then we want them to do the same, to reciprocate that for us by us receiving love through our primary love language. All right. Well, I'll give you guys another opportunity to ask some questions after going through the five love languages. So I'll just give you a couple minutes to type any questions or comments, share some stories. Maybe you have some experience with love languages. So whatever comes to mind, feel free to pop it in the chat. I'd love to see what you're thinking or answer any questions you might have. Maybe you even want to share your plans for Valentine's Day. If you're doing something with a partner or if you're showing yourself some love on Saturday or this week, maybe spending time with a close friend or another loved one. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions or comments. So I will go ahead and start wrapping up for the day. So, just a reminder how answering the question, how can we express our love this week? The card communicated with us that we can essentially fill our hearts with love, joy, and forgiveness. And then I talked about the five love languages, which are quality time, where we spend time with one another, acts of service, where we do kind things for our partner. And that's more like household type things. So, like washing the dishes or doing laundry. And then we have physical touch, where we may hold our partner's hand, you know, offer a gentle touch, a back rub, massage of some kind. Words of affirmation, where we express what we appreciate about the other person, give them some praise or send them an uplifting message. And then gift giving, where we give something thoughtful to our loved one that was well thought out and shows some consideration, understanding of our partner. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for Ask a Therapist to discuss mental health, relationships, and parenting. I'm sending you peace and hope until next time. Thanks so much, friends. Have a great week.